We are here live on Substack, and I am Rebecca from the Camino Calls, and I'm hoping that your view of us is not sideways. We're new at this. I am here with Emily Keifer, who is one of the participants on this first walk with Rebecca on the Camino de Santiago, and we have just completed day one of the Camino Inglés. And so, Emily, I want to start out by asking you, how is it that you ended up here on this trip?
um, my mom wanted to do it, and she invited me, and yeah, we just sort of got involved with your sort of process, and it was we decided that it was something that we wanted to do, and have someone lead us, which was good. So we were completely fine on our own, which was good. Yeah, so it's been great so far.
Cool. And before you joined us yesterday in Ferrol, it feels like we've been together forever. But before you joined us officially yesterday in Ferrol, you did a little bit of walking on a Camino route in Britain where you live. So can you tell us a little bit about? Oh, we are sideways.
Okay, squeeze in.
Okay, let's see. Hopefully that's better. Maybe we can squeeze in. So tell us about your walk in England, and what does that have to do with the Camino de Santiago? People think Camino de Santiago and they think Spain. So what does this have to do with that?
I think when my mom first approached me about doing it, and I sort of doing some online research, I looked into the Confraternity of St. James, which is the Camino Pilgrim Society that's in Vision, and they have ones all over.
Yeah.
And they were really trying to promote this St. James Way, which is the way from Reading to Southampton, Reading being the sort of site of the cult of St. James in Britain.
Okay.
And that, they thought that pilgrims would probably traditionally find their way from Reading to Southampton to then go on a boat to meet up with the Camino Inglés, which we're on now. So I thought in my training, I would try and do each weekend one stage of the St. James Way to get to prepare myself, and also feel like it was sort of connected in some way.
And is that marked like the Camino is with yellow arrows or anything, or is it marked with other?
Yeah, I mean, I downloaded the All Trails guide that the Pilgrimage Society in Britain and the Saint Confraternity had sort of put together. But there are the little plaques and little yellow arrows. Again, probably not as well signposted as it is here.
Yeah.
But someone has gone along and made sure that there's you can sort of signpost it.
Gotcha.
And they also have the cellos. So the pubs and
cellos are the stamps that you get in your Camino credentials. So.
Yeah. So the pubs and mainly the churches, and more and more businesses are getting involved in it because they get excited when someone comes in, because there's not that many people that do it. But so the pubs and churches usually will have a stamp that you can put in your little passport. And then I was reading today is that in Southampton you can also get a certificate that they've produced to show that you've done the St. James Way in England.
Okay.
So,
cool. So you're going to get one of those?
Yeah, once I get to Southampton. I've only gone as far as Winchester.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So for those of you just joining us, I'm here with Emily Keifer, who's one of the participants on our Camino Inglés walk, which we just started yesterday. Yesterday we met, today we did day one. And so Emily actually is American by birth, but lives in England. And so she came here, her mom came over all the way from Seattle, and you guys met here, right? In A Coruña. Yeah. And so the next thing I want to ask you about is, how was day one of the Camino de Santiago? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was really good. We had a bit of rain today, which was... as I was saying earlier, rain on the first day when you're still really motivated, it sort of doesn't feel quite as demoralizing as maybe 4 days of rain or something, which I hope we won't get. Yes, it looks beautiful right now. Yes. So I'm hoping this will sort of continue on.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing, what they say, that you don't really need a map, you won't get lost. We did get lost several times. Margaret and I were separated from the larger group, and we did maybe probably talking too much and not paying attention to the signs, and but generally it is very well signposted. Yeah. So I was glad about that.
well, I just wanted to add, sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
with the signposting. So when you're walking with a group, there's with pacing and of who's going ahead and who's lagging behind and all that, not lagging behind, but who just walks slower and all of that. And so we started out together, and then you guys felt fine enough to take off. And the thing is, I think for a lot of people, some of the hardest places to get out of as far as the Camino de Santiago are walking out of big cities. And so when you're in the middle of nowhere, you can see, a trail marker sometimes ahead, but in the big cities, like they've got you turning this way and this way and that
yeah,
way.
there's lots of other signs, and so it's not, there's, I guess, a lot of other things to look at, and sometimes they maybe get lost within the shuffle of that. But
So in your getting lost, was it terrible, or tell us? Let's reassure the people here.
Yeah, no, it was fine. Luckily my mother had that One Camino app,
That we
and
use, yeah.
so she just made sure. But you very quickly got a sense that I don't think I'm on the trail anymore. I haven't seen any yellow arrows. I think this might be wrong. So we almost, or maybe even a second, a, a second sense, or as that we were going off.
Yep.
We had gone off the track.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't, no, and we never went, you never went ages away.
Right. Right.
So it didn't add tons to our journey.
Gotcha.
I guess it's part of the process.
It is. And I tell people, it's not like you're going to get lost in the wilderness and get eaten by a bear or something. It's, you're in a foreign country. Yes. But it's not, usually, depending on when you're on the Camino and how many other people are on the Camino, some people, they feel like you're talking about that second sense of something's off here. Either you don't see any arrows and you're like, you usually see another one by now, or you don't see other pilgrims, because a lot of times, there's other pilgrims either ahead of you or behind you. So sometimes what I tell people is, if you're really nervous, just stop for a second, and see if there's any pilgrims coming. Or if you're on the Camino and there's a place where you can split, and you're not sure what to do, stop and wait for another pilgrim, and at least you guys can decide together. But I think that's another good thing, is that you guys were together.
Sure.
So it wasn't anything, crazy.
But then we were worried that we saw other pilgrims behind us, and we were worried that they were using your advice and following us when we perhaps did not know where we were going. But we arrived to our destination all fine.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But looking forward to maybe some walking in the not rain tomorrow.
Yes. I think probably don't take as many pictures too, because of the rain and all of that. So any surprises today?
I guess I thought there'd be more places to have a coffee.
Yes.
But I think that probably just varies from state.
It does, yeah. And this is one thing with various Camino routes. Some of them have more infrastructure than others. And this one has a lot of infrastructure. We're walking along the Ferrol River, but where the Camino takes you is sometimes they want to get you off of the roads and onto these lovely, park trails, which we were on for some of this, which means that they're taking you out of the town of it. Whereas other times you're going through the towns, and so you are stopping by coffee shops. So, and this is a thing on the Camino de Santiago. Those of you that have walked the Appalachian Trail, you're like, what are you talking about stopping for coffee? But this is the Camino de Santiago. We do it a little bit differently here. And we love stopping in these coffee shops, getting a snack, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes they are a little bit further apart than you would think. So, but for example, tomorrow, when we start out, I know there's coffee shops in a half hour. So we'll stop there, at least if we don't have breakfast where we're staying, we'll stop there. Some of you are thinking, oh my God, you're only going to walk for a half hour and stop. But that's part of the experience too. So yeah. Any other surprises that you had, or was that pretty much the sum of it?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay. And tell us, because some people worry about training for the Camino. So you talked about the training walks that you did, the longer walks. Were you doing other training, or were you kind of like, I don't really have time for this, I'm just going to try this?
I was trying. It was trying. It was hard to get anything after work, and so I work full time, and so I was sort of going maybe 3 to 4 kilometers in the morning, most mornings, not every morning. So I certainly wasn't training as much as some of the other ladies that are on this trip that were maybe doing 6 miles a day.
Yeah.
But I feel good so far. So
Good.
I'm hoping that, we'll see how I feel tomorrow.
And that was going to be another question I had for you. Any blisters, any muscle aches, anything? Or
Not today.
okay, that's good. That's good. And then when we got in today, we are staying in a rehabilitated palace, basically mansion, and we had lunch. Now, Spanish lunch. Do you want to tell folks a little bit about Spanish lunch times here?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, just sort of afternoon, but it can be extended by just sitting and chatting. But then, you know, uh, I think we are generally trying to have a big lunch so that we could just sort of snack at dinner time or,
Yeah.
do whatever. So,
Yeah. And part of it is because dinner is so late here.
Mm-mm.
So restaurants don't open till 8 o'clock, and Spaniards are not usually out eating till 9 o'clock. And so, but a lot of Spaniards have their big meal at lunchtime, and a lot of people in the Camino de Santiago don't necessarily recognize that or get. I think it's more that some people are walking through the Spanish lunchtime. So Spanish lunchtime in general is 1:30 to 3:30.
Mm-mm.
If you sit down by that point, you will see people sitting at restaurants at 5 o'clock. That's because they sat down 2 hours ago and they're still talking. They're not going to seat you at 5 o'clock and feed you. And so we got here. What time did you guys get here?
I think about 2:30 maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And
Oh,
we
yeah.
sat down to eat around 3:15ish. Yeah. And what time did do you remember what time we left in the morning? I'm trying to give people a
Oh,
sense of
no.
how I want to say it was
I
around.
mean, I know we left the hotel at 8:30, but
Right. And then we went for breakfast.
I'm not quite sure how long we spent at breakfast.
Yeah, I want to say we were on the road by probably 10 at the latest.
Mm-mm.
And we did almost 10 miles today. And that's another thing about the Camino is that some people are doing longer stages and some people are doing shorter stages. How did you feel about the distance that we walked today, those 10 miles?
No, it wasn't too bad. Yeah.
Were you
No.
ready to be done when we were done, or were you like, I could go?
I could go longer, but I think I was ready to be done. I think once you sort of see the place in sight, you're like, okay, I'm ready now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think the combination of needing the facilities and probably needing something to eat, but meant that I was ready to sit and relax and
Gotcha. For anyone that is joining us, if you have any questions about the Camino de Santiago or the Camino Inglés, which is the route that we are on, feel free to type those in. I'm here with Emily Keifer, who is one of the participants on my first Camino walk with Rebecca. We did day 1 today, and tomorrow I think we go a little bit longer, but if for people that are thinking of doing a Camino but a little bit unsure, any words of wisdom, anything that you might say to them?
Well, I guess do it. Yeah, I think definitely we've seen all sorts of people on the Camino, even on this first day, and of all sort of varying abilities. I mean, I don't think we quite saw anyone in a wheelchair,
Right.
But
Although people do the Camino in a wheelchair.
Yeah, so as you were saying, so people walking slow or people walking fast. I don't think there's there's definitely not any not
like a specific type that you need to be to do the Camino.
It wasn't. There were certainly. I think it's different on some of the stages coming up, but this was quite an easy stage in terms of hills or maybe a little slippy in some places.
Right. Due to the rain. This was our rainy day, hopefully our only rainy day. And speaking of rain, tell us a little bit about your rain gear, what you used, what worked, what didn't.
So I brought a poncho and I actually didn't get a chance to try it out before the Camino. I know it's just not what you're supposed to do, but it actually worked okay. I didn't find it too burdensome, and then but then it got a little bit windy. I was flapping around a bit, but then the rain sort of tailed off a bit, and it was just a bit drizzly. So then I took that off. It's a bit muggy, so I was struggling with being hot and taking layers off and that sort of thing whilst it was still raining. Right. And then I had a raincoat. I didn't put on my rain trousers, which I already also had because I didn't feel it was raining enough for that.
Right. Yeah, sometimes people don't do that because your rain gear, your dry wicking shirts and your rain pants are going to dry quicker
Mm-mm.
once it stops raining. But how wet do you want to get?
Yeah, and I hadn't sort of I had sort of all weather uh trail shoes, trail runners, and I hadn't really a chance to check out if they were waterproof or water resistant, and my feet were pretty dry.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
glad about
Okay.
glad about those. That's it.
And some people worry about those because they think that if they're rain resistant, then you're going to sweat more in them.
Mm-mm.
But I think the technology has improved.
I think it's possible that your feet could probably get hotter than a regular trail runner shoe.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I definitely sometimes struggle with like my feet feeling like they're overheating a little bit.
Mhm.
Not just in rain or so. I
Yep.
think, but yeah, no, I think they're great today.
Okay, cool. And so one of the just for those of you who are looking about rain gear for the Camino, one of the things is that if you don't have waterproof shoes, or water resistant shoes, when you get to wherever you're staying, if you stuff your sneakers with newspaper, the newspaper soaks up the wetness. And I usually soak them, or not soak them, I don't soak them. I put the newspaper in when I first get in, and then I usually take it out and put in a second batch before I go to bed. The tricky part is finding newspaper.
Yeah.
So, note to self, I was even thinking at one point today, and is there a coffee shop? Is there someplace where I can buy a newspaper for the sole purpose of stuffing my sneakers with it? But the other thing is, if you have the water, so you don't have that problem for tomorrow. Okay, cool. And I'm still trying to get us both in. If you're hearing background noise, it's because they're also holding a wedding in the accommodation in which we are staying. So that's why tell us about coming into this accommodation, because you had an interesting story when you got here.
Yeah, it wasn't quite clear where the entrance is, which it's beautiful, it looks out on the water, and you approach the hotel from behind, and you kind of have to walk around it to get into the entrance. But the bride and groom were coming out. There's a chapel sort of attached to the side of it. Bride and groom were coming out of the chapel into the front entrance, and my mom and I obviously didn't want to interrupt any of that trying to come in, and so we were sort of wandering around the back of the hotel until someone found us and rescued us. But yeah, we didn't want to ruin the pictures with their muddy boots.
Indeed, indeed. And we are staying in an accommodation that is technically off the Camino. And people do this sometimes for various reasons. If there's not accommodation available directly on the route, depending on the time of year you go, or if the accommodation you're seeking out is maybe not available. So, for example, we are staying in places, private rooms, private bathrooms. And I had stayed in this place before, knew how wonderful it was. But it wasn't that far off the Camino.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah, and you gave very clear instructions about where we needed to go, much clearer than sometimes the actual Camino sign. But we passed by the auberge for the
hostel.
The hostel, yeah, in Nida, on the way. So, if that's something some people want to do, that's very conveniently right on
the Camino. Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is beautiful out here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think Camino and they think hostels and they think carrying backpacks, but we're not doing it that way. You do not have to do it that way. So we are staying in all private accommodations, private rooms, private bathrooms, and we're sending our luggage ahead with the luggage transfer service. Were you nervous about that at all?
I didn't think so. I'm amazed because I don't think for this leg we didn't use, but it's just the Spanish postal system.
Well, so I was going to use the Spanish postal system, and then one of the accommodations they said that they don't go to because they said it was too far from the Camino, which is interesting because I've walked right by it. It's on the Camino, so I think it's just too far off of their route. I'm not really sure. So last minute I had to change the service. So we're using Taxi Camino Inglés, and there are lots of different transport services. So yeah, I changed to them yesterday. You have to book by 9:00 the night before if you're going to do this.
I guess I was just amazed at the proficiency of the Spanish postal system.
And I've done it with them many times before, and they are, Yeah, all of these services, people worry. Some people will say, is it safe? But their transport, there was a pile of bags
Oh yeah.
when
And
we.
I mean, it seems like thousands of people use that every day.
Yes, yes,
So if they were, not very good or losing people's bags all the time, I'm sure people would hear about it. But
exactly, exactly. Yep, yep. Anything else you would like to?
I don't know. No, it's
Yeah.
been great so far. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah. No, no, this has been wonderful. So yeah, what's coming up next is this is a hybrid Camino walk in that we as a group met yesterday. We did our day one today. And we're going to do the next 2 days together as a group. And then I leave the ducklings to head out on their own on the Camino. But the nice thing about this group is we ended up everybody that's here came with someone else actually. So even though I'm leaving, you still have your mother. We have another woman and her sister-in-law who are here. And so people are still going to, have the person that you came with
Sure.
as well. And then I'll be meeting the group in Santiago because I initially wasn't sure if I was going to do that. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I can't, it feels weird to just leave and not see the success at the end.
Yeah.
So
I think we'll be glad to see you at the end too.
exactly. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And if you have any questions about the Camino de Santiago, feel free to write in. I'll be leading more trips starting next spring. This is my last one for 2025, but we'll definitely be doing some in 2026. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you at the same time, or maybe not Emily, maybe somebody else, but I will see you tomorrow at about the same time, and hopefully we can set this up so that we're not sideways next time. Bye, guys.